Welcome to Conversation in the Den. I am Jennifer Wolfenden, your co-host. Our host today is not here today, and we apologize for that. Um, I am not going to make any excuses, but you've got me. Welcome, Candace Walkes, to our show.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us,
Thank you
and
for having me.
thank you for being here. And we've got Alicia in the background. She keeps us online. She keeps us part of the internet world, and she makes sure we look good. So thanks, Alicia, for being here with us and making sure things go smoothly. We really appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Candace, our show is all about inspiration and, just inspiring people to live alongside of handicaps and challenges and challenging lifestyles and, those kinds of things. Tell us your story, because you suffer with you've been suffering with depression for more than 10 years. You in those 10 years, you earned yourself a degree at McMaster University. You also, right alongside of earning that degree, you earned a certificate in French. You're a performer. You just recently opened your own business. I mean, you're on medication. I mean, you've got a whole family. You got married last year. Like, I mean, you've got quite a life going on, but you live every single day with mood disorders. And I'm going to call it mood disorders for now, because I want you to tell us your story. Tell us about when this all started and how that felt.
Yeah. It was so when I first kind of realized something was wrong with me was back in high school. It's probably like 2011, or probably more like 2009, 2010. I just started to feel and behave differently, and things that I really enjoyed, I kind of stopped enjoying, and things that that were really fulfilling for me, and stuff that I have all of this energy for just kind of drifted away, and everything just kind of felt really numb, and really kind of estranged. Like, I could see my life from over here, but I wasn't actually the one living it.
Now, can I interject right there?
Yeah.
Was there a long period of time between when you kind of went, something's not right? Or was it like months went by and you kind of started looking back and going, something's not right? Or did you kind of notice like right away? I guess I'm trying to help our viewers to understand how this works,
Yeah.
how it progresses, for lack of a better word. How does this progress?
Right. Well, in my personal experience, my depression kind of shifted from more of a situational depression, which is very normal. Everybody kind of goes through it, where basically some sort of life event happens where you lose someone, or you go through a bad breakup, or whatever the case may be, and you kind of fall into a season of depression where things don't feel the same, taste the same. Your life just kind of seems to be going by without you, and everybody experiences symptoms and all that stuff differently, and sometimes it'll last for a couple months, and sometimes it'll last for years. And then there, on the opposite end of the spectrum with depression, is more of like the chronic major depressive disorder, where it moves from the situational aspect to just kind of everyday life forever. So for me, it kind of started that way. And like with my family, there was a lot of stuff going on with us at the time, and with my biological father, and so there was a huge element of situational depression that I feel like kind of was the catalyst for my major depressive disorder. So it started very much like a lot of stuff is happening with family, a lot of stuff is happening with school. I feel like I'm in a pressure cooker and I just can't get out from underneath it, kind of depression. And once everything kind of settled, once the dust kind of settled, once all of the major life stuff had kind of stopped spinning so quickly, I wasn't getting better. And a lot of times people will kind of go, well, this is just a season, and at any day now, I'm going to start feeling more like myself. I'm going to start
Yeah.
feeling better. I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to exercise and hope that'll make me feel better. Or I'm going to join a club or do a hobby or whatever. And you just kind of wait for that day where you start feeling more and more like yourself. And for me, that day never really came. And it just kind of started to get a lot worse as I kept trying to live life normally, as if I was normal and I was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And that just got increasingly more difficult, to the point where I kind of just like hit rock bottom. Like my mental health just kind of quit on me, and my body followed suit. And I found myself sleeping like almost 20 hours a day, not feeling hungry. I just like lost a lot of weight. I stopped communicating with friends, with family. I just shut down.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine kind of looked at me and was like, "Why? I don't think that there's just, you're sad. I think that you're depressed, and I think you maybe need to go to a doctor and have an assessment done." So that's what I did. Made an appointment, and turns out she was kind of right. I was definitely depressed, and I was diagnosed around 2011. So from 2009 to 2011, in the fall, I was experiencing like a slow decline in my mental health as things kind of got worse, and then things kind of settled, and I didn't get better until I hit rock bottom and I couldn't function anymore. That was when I was like, I probably need some help. So I think a lot of times, go ahead.
Um, in that 2009, the fall of 2009, 2010, 2000, so 2 years,
Yeah.
you know, um, what was your family noticing these things? Were they experiencing their own trauma? Like, I mean, it took a while. Like, I'm trying to understand how parents can, what should they look for?
Yeah.
Like what were they missing? I
Mhm.
mean, it's hard to know how to help other parents to really look closely, because parents don't really, a lot of parents, even though mood disorders and depression is not a taboo subject
Yeah.
anymore. I mean, not taboo to the point of that it was years ago, but even there's a lot of parents that just don't know what it is to look for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think you're right. And a lot of the time, like it's tricky to kind of pinpoint it to just a few things, because people experience this illness so vastly differently. But the typical signs, that I can kind of that I know are kind of earmarks for this illness is normally like a lot of sleeping. It's either one end or the other. It's a lot of sleeping or not sleeping at all. Or it's not eating a whole lot or eating a lot, like more than they
Yes.
would normally. So basically, what it comes down to is like, is your kid behaving like your kid? You know,
Mm,
is the are they changing in a way that is not themselves? Because growing is one thing, but changing is a different thing. And when they
yeah.
stop acting like themselves, when they stopped acting like the person that and when things are just like nothing brings them any type of happiness or joy, then you should start looking into what's really going on, and maybe having some conversations about how they've been feeling, because that
Okay.
is like a very big telltale sign. And like, as a parent, I mean, you
Yeah.
kind of suspect, especially when they're teenagers. It's hard to like be like,
Yeah.
is this teen stuff, or is this like something that's a problem? But better be
Yeah.
safe than sorry. And I think that the best advice that I could give you, if you're like questioning, is just ask more questions. Ask them why are they not seeing their friends? Why do you feel like nothing brings you happiness or joy? Why are you withdrawing? And
Okay.
and if it turns out to be a teen thing, then it's no harm, no foul. But if it's something more, then you really did your kid a service by asking more questions.
Yeah. So you were diagnosed 2 years later in 2011. So tell us about that. How did that go? Um,
It was kind of strange. I think anybody who hasn't been diagnosed, there's a lot of ideas that kind of float around about what it's like, but really, you go into your doctor's office and you request an appointment with their counselor or their mental health practitioner or whatever attachment is, whatever physician or professional is attached to your doctor's office. And and they give you a little questionnaire that just asks you about your life, and you kind of go through it, rate it on a scale from 1 to 10. Does this bring you happiness? Have you had these thoughts? How do you feel this way? And then they kind of tally up like points, and then every kind of subset of points kind of puts you on a spectrum. So a spectrum from like, this is situational, we're going to monitor it, but so far you're safe, you're doing okay, to like, you need 24-hour supervision because you are now a danger to yourself and possibly other people, because you're struggling so much. So I
Yeah.
was kind of like more on the higher end of the spectrum where, I didn't need 24-hour supervision, but I also wasn't completely safe with, safe as in I was, having suicidal thoughts and thinking about hurting myself. So it was more severe in my case. So after going there and it was kind of freeing in a way, because it's like you kind of feel crazy. You
Yeah.
kind of feel like you're slowly losing your mind.
Yeah.
And when a doctor sits down and says like, no, this is not, you're not crazy, there's something wrong, there is something physically and chemically wrong with you,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, well, I don't have to feel like I need to behave better, or be happier,
Yeah.
or sleep less, or sleep more, or eat less. All of those things just kind of are put to bed because
Yeah.
now there's a diagnosis and
Yeah.
you can get help. So
Yeah.
that whole experience of getting diagnosed was actually really nice and freeing, and it was a very easy conversation. It was like, basically, oh, okay, well, how do you feel about this? Well, how do you
Yeah.
feel about that? Okay, so then this is what we should do. Maybe we should look at medication, and we should look at some coping mechanisms, and then we're going to just make an appointment next week and we're going to go from there. It was not like plan my life out. It was just as simple as like, we're going to take it week by week and see how you go.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
We really do have a great medical system in Canada here. And
Mhm.
it really I mean, for all its faults, it really just it does really take care of us in a very unique way in Canada. um so tell me about so you're diagnosed, you've gone through the whole process, you're now now it's time for rehabilitation, now it's time
Right.
for to help you to get better.
Right. It's more of like a rehab and recovery part of the journey. Um, yeah, and for me, I chose to go on medication because like I was not functioning, and I needed to regulate the chemicals in my brain so
Mhm.
drastically because it was causing me to be asleep for most of the day, which means I can't go to school. I can't do my homework. I can't, talk to people because I'm in bed all day. So, I went on a few different medications, and medication is kind of a trial and error. You kind of go on one and see how it goes. And if it doesn't help, then you kind of wean off and you have to go on a different one. But once you find the one that is for you, it is extremely helpful and beneficial. And from that day, I've pretty much been on medication from then on. There's been times where I've come off of it, and then there's been times where I've went back right back on it. And there was a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of shame and guilt attached to like going on to medication or going off of it and then realizing you need it. And there really shouldn't be, because like there is no shame in getting the help that you need in the way that you need it. And
Yeah.
some people, you can go for a run in the morning and you can feel like that is your medication, that is your medicine. Other people may not have that luxury, and maybe it's just the simple fact of getting out of bed is that difficult, or sleeping, like getting out 8 hours of sleep or 6 hours of sleep or
Yeah.
3 hours is
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, hi. Hey, Maria. So our host is joining us. Good to see you, girl. We're talking.
I'm not even going to try to pretend that there was something
We're
going on.
just glad.
I absolutely
We're just.
fell asleep. I was up all night watching the elections, and
Oh.
I I fell asleep.
It happens to the best of us.
This is how we do it. We're just completely honest. This is the show, Conversations in the Den.
Exactly.
Listen,
Jen,
so
thank you so much for contacting the building supervisor and having them come and find me, because if this had been something other than me falling asleep,
yes,
you could have saved my life.
Yeah.
thank you.
So
Well,
thank you.
you have a reputation for being on time, and that preceded you, and that was the catalyst, because we were like, she's always on time, so let's
Yeah.
do something. But anyways, we're happy that you're healthy and
Yes,
we're,
I just wanted to thank you. And Candace, hello. It's
Hi.
nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well, Maria.
yeah. So Maria,
It's nice to
I'm gonna
see you're crazy just like my daughter.
Yeah.
My daughter's hair goes from pink to green to,
Yep.
you know. I think it's that generation.
it
Probably.
is that generation. Maria, we
It's
are
like
just
anything to be different. It's funny how, when we're in elementary school, we want to be just like the other kids.
Yeah.
High
yes,
school, everybody wants to be exactly the same.
yeah.
We get beyond that, and we get to university age, and everybody wants to be different. They
Yep.
want to shave their head. They want to paint it different colors. They want to do all these things. So basically that's just a normal thing now.
It totally
We've
is.
come to
You are
accept
100% right.
that.
So Maria,
Very nice to meet you. To the audience, I'm very sorry. Um, Candace, um, we would just like to hear your story.
So
Um,
Maria, can I interject? She's been talking. We've been having a little bit of an interview with her.
okay.
So
Okay,
I think
wonderful, wonderful.
so. What we're gonna do now is I'm gonna continue talking to Candace. Chime in as you can. She's told us a whole, all the stories. Um,
Oh
we're,
boy.
we're at the middle here. So Candace, continue on. You were telling
Okay,
us
no
that
problem. I'm
that you
sorry.
no, please, listen and hang with us. So you were saying that there's a stigma attached to being on medication and suffering with depression. You were kind of talking.
Yeah, and I think that that stigma kind of is attached itself to a lot of conditions. I don't think it's like specifically mood disorders, um yeah, I was just saying that there shouldn't be any shame in getting help the way you
Well,
need to be
absolutely
helped.
not.
And
Yeah.
yes, and for me there was a lot of like there were people in my life who were saying like, well, if you only just did this, then you wouldn't need medication and you would be fine. And I mean, I
It's a
was
lack
young.
of understanding.
Yes, definitely. And that was one thing that I had to fight is the idea that people think they know, but they don't really know. And
Hmm.
I, and you have to come to a place in yourself where, I had to come to a place where I put my mental
Yes,
health first because I needed to be functional, not just for myself, but like to keep
absolutely.
moving forward. And I owed it to myself to try everything. So that's what I did. I tried all of the medications, and I did ones for sleep, and I did ones for appetite, and I did ones for just like being at an equilibrium in terms of like my brain chemistry.
Hmm.
And I found what works for me, and I think that I would
And
not
that's
be where I
wonderful.
am today. Yeah, and I just don't think I would be where I am today without making the choice to put that first, whatever that looked like.
Yeah. I
So
wish
tell us
I
about
wish, Candace, I wish that I could connect you with my daughter so that you two could have a conversation.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because truly,
these mood disorders, right? Is
and
that
so I decided that we were going to go see a counselor as a family.
for actually taking the family to counseling, because that was huge. I mean, you took matters
Yeah.
into your hand, you took the whole family into counseling. So that was awesome. And I think Candace, you were talking about how that's help that I mean, you talked about medication, but did you do counseling as well?
Oh, yes. I think that like it's absolutely necessary because there are things that, you can talk about with your counselor that you can't talk about with your family or you can't
Yeah.
talk about with your friends.
Absolutely.
And
And
they,
it's not an easy thing as a parent, I will say, to sit in this meeting and you're kind of feeling like you're being dismantled because you're taking everything personally.
yeah.
But now, after having the stroke and going through everything I've gone through, I now understand that was her experience, not my experience.
Yeah.
And so it's not a judgment, you know. The only thing that after I had the stroke, um, she had a lot of difficulty dealing with me.
Mm,
And the difficulty, I believe, was that she had seen me as a strong woman, blah, 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 all her life. And now she saw me in a different level. And it was very challenging for her.
Yeah. I hear you, Maria, and those are the challenges we go through with our kids when they have mood disorders. We're running out of time, but Candace, I wanted to ask you,
mhm.
tell us about, tell us about,
Mm,
I think she's still looking externally for the answer.
I see. Yeah. Yeah. So for and for me, I had, in high school, I just kind of decided that I wasn't going to give up. I had done the counseling and I had done the family therapy, because of course I was behaving like a different person and I just wasn't myself. Um
Hmm.
and it was, I think the turning point was when we did go to family therapy, and it was me and my mother and my sister. And they just kind of looked at me and they were like, well, we're not going to give up on you. So the least that you can do is not give up on yourself. We're going to be here to kind of move you
Yes.
forward, but we can't do that without your help. And so
Yes,
once I
exactly.
like
It's
got
still
it through
on
my
you.
brain,
It's still on you, but
yeah,
you but we're here to support you.
yeah, it's completely my responsibility.
Yes,
And sometimes
absolutely.
that's hard if you don't have
I
support
mean, nobody
from myself. And
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that.
yeah. So it was, but it was very hard. Like it was, all of it was hard. Everything was hard. Um, Getting into university, like even graduating from high school, if we kind of go by milestone, graduating high
Hmm.
school, I had to have a complete restructure of my curriculum because I couldn't do school the way that all of the other kids were doing it, because my mood disorder affects my learning and affects how I process things and how I read. Like I just couldn't read. I couldn't formulate sentences. It was just, everything was just so out of whack in my brain, which made it hard for me to finish. And I was an A and B student. That was who I
Yes.
was. I was good at school and I enjoyed it, and I found like the courses and stuff that I liked, and I had this path, mapped out. And then depression just derailed everything. So I had to get a lot of help, and the people at my high school were amazing. And my teachers were amazingly flexible because they wanted to see me succeed.
Hmm.
um and
And that's the thing that I think people that are going through these challenges don't understand. We all want to see you succeed. It's just that some
yeah,
people don't know how to not take over. They want to do it their way. But I'm so proud of you that you found your answers.
yeah,
Mhm.
That's a
yeah. And I
beautiful
think for a lot of people struggling with like mood disorders, and brain disorders, you kind of feel undeserving of help and of love and support. Like you kind of feel like you're so low yourself that you can't perceive that somebody else would want to be on your team and be on your side. But there's really like a lot of healing that happens when you do kind of let that in, and you just kind of allow people to be there for you. Because if I hadn't done that in high school, I wouldn't have finished and I wouldn't have gone to university. And I actually ended up graduating valedictorian of my class in high
Oh my
school
goodness, that's
with,
wonderful.
yeah, with great
Congratulations.
marks. and
Wonderful.
and I had my pick of universities and I had
Hmm.
scholarships because people helped me and they supported me and they loved me through it, which gave me the confidence and the ability to do the work myself, to get myself there.
That's wonderful.
So graduating was like a huge thing, and I always thought, this was it for me. Like I don't know if I'm going to be able to go to university. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do much more
Oh,
than
you
this.
can
But
do
this was
anything
all I
you
had.
want.
Yes. Yes, but at that point, it was so
Yes,
difficult to
yes.
finish that I was like, how do I do more? How can I possibly do more? So, I was kind of praying about it, and mom had worked for years before her stroke at McMaster. So I had a bursary sitting there waiting for me if I wanted to go. So
And,
I applied, I
and
took a chance.
that's funny, Jennifer. I never knew that you worked in a university because I worked at two universities. I worked at the University of Windsor and then I worked at York University.
Well, technically,
Or
she worked for the
children have
hospital,
situations.
but yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
She,
my younger daughter, and so I'm not really clear. Now, are you living in Ontario?
yeah,
Can
I live in Hamilton.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well,
I
we've
am
got
so,
things in Hamilton.
listen, ladies, I love you both, but we don't have a heck of a lot of time. So Candace, I'm gonna focus on you for the next 5 or 6 minutes. Can you
Yeah.
tell us about university and your business? Right after you tell us about university, I want to be able to put up some of your artwork. So your nail. So yeah. So tell us about university, and then lead us into your business and all of that, and marriage, all that stuff. Please do.
Yeah. So I applied and I got in, and I got in with a scholarship. So I felt like after praying about it and wrestling with it, God was like, no, this is the direction that you need to go.
Okay.
So
Wonderful.
I took a leap, and I said to my mother and my sister and my boyfriend at the time, who was my now husband, and I looked at all of them and I was like, I'm gonna need all the help that I can get. And
Mhm.
if I'm gonna go, I need you guys to be my support team. And they all looked at me and they were like, well, we're here to support you if you want to go.
Yes.
If you want to go and you want to finish, well, we're going to be there for you. So I did. And it was a big learning curve, because university, like from high school to university, there's a vast difference
Oh,
in how
absolutely.
things work.
It's almost
And
an independent study.
yes, and like even the way your profs treat you, and you just have to do everything yourself.
Yeah,
You
they have this
nobody
expectation. Yes.
Yeah, nobody's chasing after you. Nobody's,
Yep.
asking you how you're doing because I haven't seen you, that's just it just doesn't happen. So I went to the student accessibility services, and that team, I'm pretty sure almost every university has a department like that, but that department
Yes.
handles
I
all
know
of the
that
learning
York University
disabilities.
has a psychology department, and you can go and see a psychologist at any time.
Yes, this is slightly different because what this department does is it gets you accommodations. So if you have a learning disability or any type of
Oh,
disability
okay.
that
Okay.
impedes your learning the way it's the
Yes.
normal learning,
Best for
and I
you.
say that in
Yes.
quotes because who knows what normal is, the
Right.
normal way of learning, they basically kind of give your profs a heads up saying you might need extra time, or you might need extensions, or you might need an alternate format for your textbooks. So I went and I sat down with them, and I had to get reassessed and I had to get all this paperwork done. But once it was done and my accommodations were in place, it made everything so much more accessible for me. Um, and it was huge because the days that I couldn't get out of bed, I knew someone was taking notes for me, and I could get those notes and still be successful. I
Wonderful.
knew that when I signed up for my exams, that they were going to give me time to decompress my brain, because it's hard getting everything out in 2 hours. So I would be given
Yes.
like 3 hours, 40 minutes. And there were days where I would sit there and I would use every single second. I would take a 4-hour exam
And that's
because,
okay.
and that's just how it was.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of perseverance. It took me 6 years to graduate, and kind of pick a path that I knew was
Hmm.
good for me. But I ended up graduating with my BA in psychology because I have a really big passion for mental health now, and
Of course.
with
Well,
a certificate.
this is what's tend to happen. You see,
Mm,
I have a passion for accessibility because of having a lack of accessibility.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
You tend to take on kind of have more of a passion for the things that you've kind of survived, I find.
Yes.
But yeah, I graduated with my BA and a certificate in essential French because I love languages too. And I could have graduated with a double major, but I was like, no, I need to finish and I just need to be done. So I
Exactly. Slow it
graduated.
down. Yeah. You don't have to
Yeah,
say
I
the whole
graduated this
world.
past April, and then with my business, I've always been like more of a leader kind of mindset. So
Yes. Hmm.
being my own boss always sounded good, but I never really thought of what I could be the leader of.
So
Yeah.
Uh,
tell us, Candace, tell us the name of your business and what it's
so
about. Will you?
yeah. So the name of my business is Wild Tiger Beauty, and I've always been interested in
Ooh,
like
I don't know where that came from.
yeah.
Not
Well, I mean, yeah, you can probably tell. I'm a little wild myself. But basically, I've always loved aesthetics and nails and stuff, and I've been doing my own nails for years, and
Mhm.
then that kind of grew to doing like a couple family members, and then friends would be like, "Oh, can you do my nails?"
Oh,
And
that's
then the
wonderful.
pandemic
It's
hit.
always it's always wonderful when you find the thing that you are gifted at.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I've always been like an artsy kind of creative person.
Yes, good.
Pandemic hit and I realized that I wouldn't be like nothing was open. I wouldn't be able to do anything with my degree right now.
Yeah.
My husband was like, "Well, you like doing nails, so why don't you do nails?" And I was like, "That's not a terrible idea." So I enrolled in an online school for my professional nail technician certificate, which is that one.
Mhm.
And then
Wonderful.
um,
Mhm.
and then he's like, and I was like, salon, do I open my own? Do I go work in somebody else? And he's like, I think you need to open your own business.
Yes.
So I took the plunge and that's exactly what I did. And
Oh, that's wonderful.
yeah, and so far it has been like a huge blessing just because I make my own hours and like I can schedule accordingly. And I can do all the things that I want to do and still keep my mental health intact and
Yes.
be a part of my family and be a part of my friends' lives and stuff. And it not be all about making money for kind of somebody
Exactly.
else.
Yes.
And being my own boss has been really awesome. So I do nails and I do manicures and pedicures, enhancements, all of that good stuff, nail
Well, I'm
art.
gonna need to come see you, girl.
For sure, anytime, anytime. And then I also have like a line of all natural skincare stuff that I sell, like body butters and body
Mhm.
balms and cuticle oils and stuff like that that I just use. Because another big passion of mine is stuff that's good for your skin that doesn't have chemicals and all that other
Yes,
stuff
that's
in it,
nice.
and stuff that's affordable and organic. So that's like my little business.
That's
Candace,
wonderful.
we have oh good, great.
Oh
So we can
yes.
see your work. Nice job. Wow. Wow.
So this is my Instagram, and I kind of try and post as often as I can the latest and greatest, the nails that I've been doing.
Mhm.
Wow.
You might recognize Mom's hands on there. She's on there a few times because she comes to get her manis and petties with me. But yeah, these are just nails that I have done
Oh,
and
beautiful.
and
These
had a good time doing.
Nice.
wow. These are amazing.
Oh, thanks. It's funny.
Wow.
You very rarely do you scroll through your own Instagram, so it's interesting to see like.
Very
You
good
know.
job. Listen, Candace, what is what if you were to say, this is what created my success. This is why I can actually have a life living with depression. What would you say that thing is?
Yeah.
Um, I would say that it's not just one thing. I'd say that it comes down to a few things. I say that number one, you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice to decide that you're worth it. You're worth fighting. You're worth moving forward. You're worth everything good that comes to you. Everything,
Yes.
you're worth moving forward and investing in to have success. And the second thing I would say, there's probably three things. The second thing I would say is accepting help does not mean you are lesser. Accepting
Yeah.
help means that you are actually investing in yourself and you're making a choice to move
Mhm.
towards your success. And
Yeah.
whatever that looks like, if that's medication, family, friends, accessibility services at university,
Mhm.
get the help that you need. And the
Yes.
third thing I would say is, for me personally, believing in something other than myself has been a huge part. So my faith and spirituality is a very big part of my life, very big part of my husband and I's life and my family. And having God on my side and knowing that He's for me, uh,
Yes,
just kind
And
of makes it worth it because then I'm not just living for myself and my family and my friends. I'm living based on a purpose that has already been predestined for me.
amen. And
So those are my top three, and that has kind of been my pillars for my whole life, from the time that I've been diagnosed or felt different to now. Those three things have kind of gotten me through a
Well,
lot.
I'm sorry that I was sleeping, but I will watch the tape. I'm very, very proud of you. Like,
Thank
I
Yeah.
mean, I feel like you're my daughter. Like,
Oh, thank you.
Amen. Amen.
I feel so proud.
Yes, I'm
Thank
proud
you
of you.
very much. I
Very
appreciate
proud.
that.
Candace, you have a special tattoo that commemorates what you've gone through. Tell us about that tattoo.
I do. So
Yeah,
I
to us. Okay, yes, go
yeah,
ahead.
so I got a set of broken shackles
Okay.
just about the time when I was going to go into university and kind of decided to like keep moving forward with my life.
Hmm.
And they just kind of represent that, the things that I
That were
carry around with.
holding you back.
Yep, this like my depression
Understood.
and my emotional baggage is not going to be the thing that chains me together. So that's why I have the broken
That's great.
shackles because,
And also, and now it stands also for Black Lives Matter.
oh my goodness. And
You
it
know?
had so much, and there was a reason why I didn't choose handcuffs because these were the slave chain. I actually modeled these after slave chains that I found. And the reason why I got slave chains is because I
But it's
also wanted
definitely
to
creative.
continually remind myself of how far our people have come and what we're still fighting for and why I don't need to be quiet because these represent where we were, where we have gone, and where we are going to go.
Yeah.
Man,
And I'm
man.
proud of how far you've come. You're
Yeah,
Thank
very
Candace,
you.
dynamic.
yeah. Candace, thanks for being with us. We have been out of time for a while, but you are amazing. So we kept talking.
Yes, thank
Listen, thank you
you.
for joining us. Maria, it's
Yes,
great to see
thank you
you.
very much.
Yes,
I
thank
will
you so
watch the
much.
tape and I will hear your whole story. I'm like I said again. I apologize.
It's
Um,
all good. It's
I'm
all
I'm
good.
I'm
Thank you
very
so much for
glad that
having me.